So what are for me the 5 main mistakes that the food and agriculture sector is making when communicating with the general public? Like I mentioned in the previous video, one of them is that they tend to be too reactive and too defensive, and they don't take really the lead in terms of communicating. Communicating is not about, addressing issues once they've been raised, but it's basically an ongoing process. So that part, in my opinion, is really one of their weaknesses. If you want to see more about it and know about my thoughts, just have a look at that video. The second thing that I think is also very important is they tend to focus a lot and too much on facts and science. And of course, food and agriculture for a large part is a technical thing, although if you look at food only, it's a very subjective matter. There is a lot of psychology in the choices that people make when they buy food, and we have to address that. Same thing in another video I was also mentioning, that we have to connect first with the emotions, and then we can talk about the more rational aspects, really the facts and the science. But immediately trying to hammer with facts and science, that just doesn't work. Third mistake, also in my opinion, is that when they do that, the style they choose, it sounds too much like a lecture, and people don't like to be lectured. People can accept that they don't know everything, because nobody does, but they really don't want to have the feeling that that they are dealing with somebody who is incredibly condescending. And unfortunately, a lot of the communication comes over as condescending, and people have the feeling that basically they have to accept anything that the industry is producing, and then they should just not complain. Of course, that doesn't work. Fourth mistake, in my opinion, is that when you do that, of course, when you communicate, you need to have a sender and a receiver. In my opinion, the industry makes the mistake of thinking that they are the sender. No, they're not the sender. The sender is the public, the sender is the consumer. They are sending a message. When you have a sender and a receiver, what you need to do basically is to fine-tune on the same wavelength to make sure that you get a good reception. And it's not going to be the consumer who is going to make the effort of fine-tuning on what the industry is sending. So no, the industry needs to fine-tune on the consumer, to listen what the consumer says, and then basically address the issues. And the fifth mistake, in my opinion, is, and it's a little bit of consequence of all what I've said before, they tend to look at it more like a very rational process, while it's basically a mixed process. A part is emotion, a part is rational, and communication too often is actually treated a little bit as a technical activity, while it shouldn't. I remember, just an example, when I started working, well, I was the hard-nosed fact and science guy, and for me the truth mattered, and if you didn't want to listen to the truth, then, well, you are the one having a problem. Then I shifted to sales, and then I realized that what mattered was not the truth, were not the facts or the science, but that was what the customer was thinking. And I had to adjust to what the customer was thinking, because if I was saying things that he disagreed with me, then basically I was not going to make a sale. So that's where you need to find a good balance between the emotional aspects and the rational aspects of communication. So really, to sum up, I would say, I think in terms of communication, the industry needs to take the lead and not try to constantly explain and justify things, but just have a conversation, a connection. Just talk with the people, ask them questions, and answer to their questions. Play more on the emotional side of things, definitely, and once you have connected at the emotional side, then you can bring more a conversation into rational aspects of food and agriculture, but as long as you have not connected at the emotional side, it's not going to work. Don't be a teacher, don't be that kind of high school teacher that is in front of a classroom and everybody should just take notes and listen. No, make it a real dialogue. I think that's a lot more important. And I think what you need is also having a warmer kind of communication. It's not just coming from the brain. It's not just about thinking of nice little sentences and how to bring them over to the public, but really you have to speak with your brain, but also speak from the heart, and heart-to-heart conversation. I think that is really going to make a big difference.
If you're interested in my videos, please click on the subscribe button, or you can also visit my website.